Welcome to the deep dive. We cut through the noise to get you the core insights from really important research. And today, well, we're tackling a huge one, climate change, and specifically this urgent global need for energy solutions that are genuinely sustainable. We're definitely racing against the clock here. So our mission for you today is to really get under the hood of a fascinating study. It's titled The Global Sustainable Bioenergy Potential Until 2050 in Global National Resolution. Now, that's a mouthful, but stick with us. This isn't just some dry report. It's packed with data that could genuinely reshape our energy future, like a roadmap. We want to give you the fast track to understanding what's really critical here.
Yeah, and what makes this particular study so important is how it tackles some really big gaps in previous bioenergy research. You see, historically, a lot of analyses just look at a single point in the future, like 2050. These sort of overnight approaches, they didn't show the step-by-step path to get there. And there's often this, well, frankly, problematic focus almost entirely on energy crops. Plus, the data was usually really broad, global, or maybe regional level. It made planning for individual countries incredibly difficult, this study. It addresses all of that. It brings this unprecedented resolution down to the national level and shifts the focus squarely onto sustainable sources.
Right, it's like trying to navigate through thick fog with a really blurry map. We know the destination, that Paris Agreement target, 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2050. That's a non-negotiable globally. And bioenergy keeps coming up as a key part of the solution. But like you just said, if the data's been so patchy, how could we actually chart a clear course? What were those missing pieces stopping us?
Exactly. It's like, imagine trying to build a house, but you only have the plans for the finished roof. No details on the foundation, the walls, nothing. That's kind of what those overnight approaches felt like. They give a 2050 number, but no clue how to get there from, say, 2015 onwards. It made actual policy planning, and investment decisions really tough for governments. And yes, that heavy reliance on energy crops, that brought a whole host of problems we definitely need to unpack. The core issue was just the lack of precision. No proper timeline data, nothing specific country by country. Policymakers just didn't have the actionable stuff they needed to really integrate bioenergy properly.
Okay, so the older studies were missing these crucial details. How did this new study with its completely different approach finally deliver that actionable data? What's the secret sauce?
Well, the core innovation is this spreadsheet model they developed called LET Bioenergy. And it's a huge step forward. It meticulously estimates the potential from waste and biomass residues, what we often call second-generation biomass. And it does this year by year, basically from 2015 right through to 2050 in 5-year steps. But the real game changer, this process creates the first open-access global national bioenergy potential database. That level of detail, that granularity, it's massive. Think about it. Specific country-level numbers on bioenergy potential, freely available. That's exactly what policymakers and energy modelers worldwide needed to make much smarter, much more targeted decisions. Now, a really crucial decision they made in this study was to completely exclude energy crops. And the reasons are really compelling on multiple fronts. Environmentally, growing crops just for energy poses some big threats. We're talking competition with food production that can push up food prices, cause land conflicts, big risks. Then there's biodiversity loss when natural habitats get converted, and significant soil and water depletion. Plus, the tillage involved often reduces soil organic content, and you get increased nutrient runoff, causing eutrophication in water bodies. Algal blooms, dead zones.
Wow, okay. That's quite a list of potential downsides. It really sounds like a solution that could easily cause as many problems as it solves if you're not super careful. So to avoid all that, what other factors push them to completely leave energy crops out of the picture?
Well, beyond the direct environmental harm, there are serious worries about greenhouse gas emissions, too. If you convert certain lands, like grasslands, to grow these energy crops, you can ironically end up releasing more CO2 and N2O. Kind of defeats the purpose, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe the most striking point for many people is just how inefficient they are in terms of land use. This study really drives that home. Energy crops. They use land way less efficiently than just putting down solar panels. Solar PV can generate something like 37 times more electricity on the same piece of land. Even if you use solar PV to make e-fuels, it's still 19 times more efficient land-wise than energy crops. Land, especially good farmland, is just too precious and limited to use it that inefficiently.
That's a really stark comparison.
Definitely. And finally, there's just a lot of uncertainty about the future availability of energy crops anyway. It depends on so many things: diets, population growth, climate change itself impacting yields. So by excluding them, this study really aligns strongly with that crucial food before fuel idea, and it fits perfectly with key sustainable development goals. SDG 2 on zero hunger, SDG 6 on clean water, SDG 15 on life on land. It's a much more, let's say, holistic view.
That is a powerful distinction and honestly quite refreshing. So instead of competing for vital resources like land for food or natural ecosystems, this study cleverly shifts the entire focus to what you called second generation biomass, which is essentially waste and residues. And the beauty there, as you said, is these sources don't need dedicated land. They don't need massive inputs like fertilizers or pesticides. So much lower environmental impact right from the start. What exactly are these five main sources they looked at?
Right. So this study concentrated on five main types of sustainable biomass, or SBM as they call it. First up, crop residues. That's the stuff left in the field after harvest: corn stalks, rice husks, wheat straw, things like that. Then livestock manure from farm animals.
Yeah.
Also human manure, basically treated human waste.
Okay.
Then we have forest residues, which are the leftovers from logging or forest management branches, unusable wood bits. And finally, municipal solid waste, or MSW, specifically the organic biodegradable parts of it, like food scraps and garden waste. And it's important to note, for livestock manure, human manure, and that bio-waste part of MSW, they specifically look at converting it into biogas. And that biogas can then be cleaned up, upgraded into biomethane, which is a really versatile renewable fuel.
Got it. So five key waste streams. How do they project how much potential these hold going forward?
They use two different scenarios based on work by the FAO, that's the Food and Agriculture Organization. The first is called business as usual, or BAU. Think of it as the middle-of-the-road option. It assumes current trends in waste generation, collection, management just continue more or less as they are. For forestry under BAU, they include residues from both wood fuel gathering and industrial round wood logging.
Okay, the status quo path. What's the other one?
The second is towards sustainability, or TSS. This is the green road scenario. It's designed to align much more closely with broad sustainability targets. So under TSS, for forestry, they only count industrial round wood residues. Wood fuel is out, mainly due to worries about deforestation and unsustainable harvesting. The TSS scenario also assumes much higher recycling rates for municipal solid waste, reflecting a more circular economy approach, better waste management overall.
Right, so two distinct futures. One, continuing current trends, one pushing harder on sustainability. Okay, so after all that careful modeling, those different scenarios, what's the bottom line? What's the actual energy potential we're talking about by 2050? Give us the big numbers.
The numbers are genuinely impressive. By 2050, under that business-as-usual scenario, the total global sustainable bioenergy potential is estimated at 33,182 terawatt-hours per year.
Wow, 33,000 TWH. How does that compare to, say, current global electricity use?
Well, current global electricity consumption is roughly 25,000 TWH a year. So, yeah, this potential from just waste and residues in the BAU scenario is theoretically more than enough to cover today's global electricity demand. That's equivalent to about 119 exajoules per year, by the way.
Incredible. And the sustainability scenario.
Even in the more conservative towards sustainability scenario, the potential is still huge. 24,288 TWH per year. That's around 87.3 exajoules annually. Still a massive amount of energy.
So even on the greener path, it's substantial. Where does most of that potential come from? Is one source dominant?
Oh, absolutely. When you break it down, one category really stands out. Crop residues. They make up the lion's share in both scenarios. It just highlights this enormous untapped resource sitting in agricultural fields worldwide. By 2050, we're looking at over 18,000 TWH per year just from crop residues in the BAU case. And even in the TSS case, it's nearly 17,000 TWH per year. It's a massive opportunity to turn agricultural waste into valuable energy.
That is huge. What about the other categories?
They contribute significantly too. Looking at 2050 BAU again, forest residues chip in about 7,700 TWh, municipal solid waste around 6,300 TWh, and biogas from manure and organic waste adds another 1,100 TWh. In the TSS scenario, because of those stricter sustainability rules, MSW is closer to 4,400 TWh, forest residues about 2,100 TWh, and biogas just over 1,000 TWh. So even with tighter constraints, these other waste streams are still very important contributors.
Okay, this is where that global national resolution you mentioned earlier becomes really powerful. It's not just some giant abstract number. It's data broken down country by country. For you listening, this is super valuable. It means you can start thinking about the potential right there in your own region, maybe even your own country. So geographically, where is most of this potential concentrated?
Exactly. That national detail is key. Looking at the big picture for 2050, under the BAU scenario, The leading regions for overall sustainable bioenergy potential are SAARC, that's the South Asian group, including India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, then Northeast Asia, primarily China, and Sub-Saharan Africa. Together, those three regions account for almost half, nearly 50% of the total global potential. It's quite concentrated.
Interesting. And the sustainability scenario, does that change the picture?
In the TSS scenario, those regions are still major players, but Europe also becomes much more prominent. That's largely down to its well-managed forests producing significant industrial roundwood residues sustainably.
Right. Can you give us some specific country examples just to illustrate that national detail?
Sure. For crop residues, you see huge potential in places like China, obviously, but also India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and that SAARC region. Significant amounts also in Ukraine, Turkey, France, Germany, and Europe. And in North America, the US, Canada, Mexico, basically major agricultural producers. For biogas, remember, that's mainly from livestock and human populations. Sub-Saharan Africa, SAARC, South America, and Northeast Asia really lead the way. Think about the potential for local energy just from managing that organic waste better.
Makes sense. What about forests and city waste?
Forestry residues are interesting. In the DAU scenario, which includes wood fuel, Sub-Saharan Africa, SAARC, and South America have the highest potential. But switch to the TSS scenario, focusing only on sustainable industrial roundwood. Then Europe, North America, and South America come out on top, reflecting more established sustainable forestry and municipal solid waste. The biggest potential generation is in SAARC, Northeast Asia, and Sub-Saharan Africa. That really reflects the rapid population growth and urbanization happening in those parts of the world. It shows how turning city waste into energy tackles two problems at once: waste management and energy supply.
Okay, so clearly a massive quantifiable potential here, but let's bring it back to the listener. Why should you care about these specific numbers, this type of bioenergy from waste? What's the real so what here? What are the big benefits?
Oh, the benefits are really profound, and they touch on several key areas. Environmentally, using this sustainable biomass is a direct win for climate change mitigation. It's generally considered CO2 neutral over its life cycle, unlike fossil fuels. It also helps conserve vital resources. It doesn't gobble up farmland or fresh water like energy crops can. And maybe the most immediate impact for many communities. It tackles major health risks tied to poor waste management. Think about open dump sites, still common in places like Sub-Saharan Africa, Southeast Asia, parts of Northeast Asia. They release huge amounts of methane, a potent greenhouse gas. Converting that waste stops those emissions and cleans up local environments, improving public health. It's a direct local benefit.
That's a huge co-benefit beyond just energy.
Absolutely. Then there's energy security. This kind of biomass is usually local. It's right there. Using it reduces a country's reliance on imported fossil fuels, which are often volatile in price and supply, and tied up in geopolitics. That's a massive advantage, especially for developing nations seeking more energy independence. And don't forget economic and rural development. For farmers, especially in agrarian economies, this turns waste crop residues, manure that might have been a disposal problem, into a new source of income. Imagine a small farming community turning its waste into biogas to power local homes and businesses. That creates jobs, stimulates the local economy. It's a real circular economy boost right at the community level.
That paints a really compelling picture, but I guess just because the potential is there on paper doesn't mean it automatically happens, right? What are the main obstacles, especially in those developing regions you mentioned with high potential? What needs to happen to actually unlock it?
That's a really critical point. The potential is vast, but realizing it, that's another story. This study is quite clear that current waste management practices globally, especially in many developing regions, are often, well, inadequate. Laws might exist, but they're often ignored. Infrastructure for collection and processing is lacking. So, getting to that maximum potential absolutely requires, and the study stresses this, high governance quality, free of corruption. Plus, you need practical enforceable policies. It's not just about having the right technology. It's about political will, effective administration, reliable institutions.
So governance is key.
Hugely key.
Yeah.
And alongside that, there's a real need for sustained investment. Investment in agricultural R&D to improve yields, sure, but also crucially investment in mechanized farming systems that can actually collect these residues efficiently. Without those foundational pieces, good governance, investment, infrastructure, the potential just stays on paper.
Right, that makes perfect sense. Now, what's really fascinating too is thinking about how this fits into the bigger energy picture. It sounds like more than just a waste management solution. It could be a really crucial piece of the whole energy transition puzzle, working alongside other renewables.
Exactly. It's not just a standalone thing. First off, This study provides this incredibly valuable database, global national data that energy system modelers and transition analysts desperately need. For the first time, planners have detailed, accessible info to weave bioenergy into their national strategies much more accurately. Then there's grid stability. Solar and wind are fantastic, but they're intermittent. Bioenergy, on the other hand, can provide flexible, dispatchable power. It can run when the sun isn't shining or the wind isn't blowing, helping to keep the grid stable, especially as we get more renewables online. It acts like a reliable backbone.
A flexible partner for renewables.
Precisely. And it's also a key renewable option for those really hard-to-abate sectors. Sectors that are just super difficult to electrify directly. Think heavy industry, marine shipping, aviation. Sustainable bioenergy is vital for developing things like biosustainable aviation fuel, BioSF. It offers a way to decarbonize these tough areas where batteries or direct electricity just aren't feasible yet.
That's critical for hitting net zero targets.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And get this, the study offers a really compelling preliminary estimate on emission savings. They calculate that properly integrating all this waste and biomass residue into the global energy system could cut greenhouse gas emissions by roughly 8.9 gigatons of CO2 equivalent per year by 2050.
8.9 gigatons, that sounds enormous.
It is. To put it in perspective, that's about 18.8%, nearly a fifth of the total global emissions projected under a business-as-usual scenario for 2050. Now, they do caution it's a preliminary estimate and needs more detailed life cycle analysis, but still, it highlights the sheer scale of the potential climate impact.
Wow, that's a significant chunk.
And one more thing on resource use. The study estimates about 14 gigatons of sustainable biomass available annually by 2050 in the BAU scenario. The projected demand for bioenergy just for power and heat is around 7.6 gigatons per year. That means there's a substantial surplus over 6 gigatons per year left over. That surplus could potentially be used for other things, like producing biomaterials to replace plastics or other fossil-based products. So it shows this resource, while finite, is actually pretty abundant if managed properly and can serve multiple purposes. Of course, the study authors are upfront about limitations, things like using constant coefficients, not fully modeling climate impacts on forests, or the energy needed for collection. These are all areas for future research to refine the picture even more.
So pulling it all together, this deep dive into the global sustainable bioenergy potential until 2050 in global national resolution, it really does uncover this huge, often just ignored opportunity. It's literally in our waste streams, in our fields.
Precisely. What this research provides is a powerful, genuinely sustainable, and importantly, actionable pathway for the global energy transition. It shows pretty conclusively that bioenergy from waste and residues can supply a really noticeable slice of our future energy needs. And it can do it without triggering all those environmental and social alarm bells associated with energy crops. The crucial thing, as the study makes crystal clear, is putting the right policies, the right governance structures, and the right adjustments in place to actually make it happen.
Which leaves us, and you, with a final thought to chew on after this deep dive is over. Think about your own community, your own region. What opportunities might exist right there to turn what we currently call waste into valuable energy? And maybe consider how you could play a part, even just by understanding and talking about these kinds of overlooked but potentially powerful, sustainable solutions for our future.